Welcome to the Miami Heat Zone podcast. I'm your host, Martel Llewellyn. We're pushing to 5,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button, and thank you for all the support. So today we have Amir from Team to Beat Miami Heat. Make sure you guys go to his channel, hit that subscribe button, and get him to 2,000 subscribers. So Amir, Bill Simmons was talking about a potential Brandon Ingram trade. You would trade Tyler Hero. He would possibly go to another team that would take on his salary. I'm not really the biggest, Brandon Ingram fan. I do think, though, he is a good all-around scorer. I think that he would fit the Bam Adebayo timeline, which is great. However, there's also just a lot of former players that play for the Pelicans. Just saying that, like, when you play there, you need a change of scenery. The organization is not the best. So what do you think about a potential Brandon Ingram fit on the Miami Heat? He's asking $200 million next year for his contract. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think he'd be a good fit offensively for this Miami Heat team. He's been considered like a mini Kevin Durant type player, or Kevin Durant light, if you will. He's scored 24 points per game 3 times in his career. And this Miami Heat team desperately needs help on the offensive end when it comes to scoring. So I don't know. He is a 3-level scorer, but he is more of like that mid-range kind of sniper. Not a bad 3-point shooter as well. He's still 26, so to your point, he's young. He fits that Bam Adebayo build. It gives us that third player, essentially, offensive player next to Jimmy and Bam, and gives us one more chance, perhaps. But I don't think it moves the needle. Um, Honestly, like I don't think it helps us win a championship. Can it help us? Possibly, but I don't think it helps us get better than the Boston Celtics. And especially because right now he's on an expiring contract. He has 1 year left, like $30 million or $32 million. But again, if he's asking for 200 million, assuming that's a 4 year deal, perhaps 50 million per season, that's like the same amount that Paul George is getting, that Donovan Mitchell's getting. I don't think he's worth 200 million. And injury history, man, like literally this guy last year played 64 games, the year before 45, 55, 61, 62, 52, 59. His rookie season 79. That's the only time he's been healthy. So injury history, like if we're trading Tyler Hero, someone we've complained about with his injury history, we're replacing him with someone who's equally injured. And also, Martel, you remember last season in the playoffs in the first round, he wasn't playing in the fourth quarter. Like he was a liability, like defensively. So, like that's not a good sign, right? Like, why would you want to add someone for 200 million and he's not even getting minutes like in the playoffs, like in the fourth quarter? Like, that's a bad sign. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think in terms of change of scenery, I think that would definitely help him. Maybe he's checked out. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you might not agree with the coach. They even did the same thing to him with the Team USA team. He really didn't play that much. That was another thing that's weird to me. I think that, it would probably even be a little bit easier to get a guy like Zach LaVine, but I would only do the deal to get the picks in return. If you can get like a first and a second round pick, I would think about it. But same thing with Zach LaVine as well. These are two guys that, even though their organizations are pretty much trying to get rid of them, nobody wants their contracts, and they're just not win now players. Could they be on the right team and the right coaching staff? I think so. But the problem is when you pay these guys so much money with their injury history and their lack of production over so many years, there's really not that many teams that are willing to take a look at that. But yeah, like I said, Brandon Ingram, he fits the timeline. But also, too, it's like I don't want the Miami Heat to make a trade just to make a trade. I would either let Jimmy Butler walk or trade him rather than trading away assets to make a marginal move. When I'm telling you right now, this team, I don't care what anyone says, they're going young in front of our eyes. They're not going to tell us because they don't want to, lower their money in their pockets and, take the butts out of the seats. But just look at what they're doing. They have Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. Pat already said, I'm not trading my young guys just for anybody. So that pretty much tells you if no one's available, there's no trade happening, like unless somebody, quote unquote, shakes loose, which is very, very rare, especially in the beginning of the season. No stars is going to randomly ask out. It's more or less closer to the end of the season or around the trade deadline. And even still, like unless it's for maybe those select three guys that Pat have in mind, he's not trading them. This Miami Heat team needs to focus on the future. We can still ride it out this year with Jimmy Butler, see what the young guys can do, but we got to focus on our young core and especially on our Olympian, our multiple-time All-Star Bam Adebayo.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to Ingram, again, that contract, I think that's the biggest red flag. Injury history is another one. I would look at a player like Kyle Kuzma over him, honestly. Like, I think Brandon Ingram probably is a better player. I mean, he's been an all star one time. He has probably a higher ceiling than Kuzma, but Kuzma, 28, has a friendlier contract. He averaged 21 points and then 22 points the last two seasons with the Wizards. So he is capable of scoring, and I think he's a better defender than Brandon Ingram. He has more size, he's stronger. Um, Shoots threes at a similar rate, a little bit below Brandon Ingram career wise, but they both shot like 36% from three last season. So I rather go for a Kuzma type player on a friendlier contract than make a move for the sake of making a move, to your point, and signing Brandon Ingram and signing away your future and saying, hey, this is the guy that we're building next to Bam Adebayo. That takes us out of the Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes in 2 seasons if he does decide to leave. De'Aaron Fox, Luca, like all these guys are going to be free agents in the next few years. So if we put our eggs in that basket to make one more run with Jimmy, essentially, then that could be detrimental to our future. So I don't think he's the best fit. And again, I'd rather go for like a Lowry Markkinen, even though like all these players that we want and are linked to, we don't have the trade capital. We don't have the space right now, and no one seems to want Tyler Hero. So I don't see us making any moves, and we're gonna run it back. As we
The
talked about
goal is to
yesterday.
remain flexible. And listen, I know a lot of
Exactly.
Miami Heat fans don't want to hear this, but sometimes you have to lose to win. That's how we got D Wade. If we were never in the lottery, we don't get D Wade. We don't get Beasley. So I understand a lot of guys want to compete, especially after what the Boston Celtics did to us, winning, beating us in the first round, partying in our city. Sometimes you have to lose to win and get a few guys. It's like what we're doing now. Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic. Maybe you can get another star through the draft. Maybe someone can join Bam at a bio. That's why, him being in the Olympics right now and with Spo being there as well, that's so important. People don't understand. How do you
Yep.
think D Wade got LeBron and Bosh through moments like that? Maybe we can get a Devin Booker. Maybe we can get a De'Aaron Fox, or a Halliburton. There's so many different guys who I think that could be potentially paired up with Bam and Adebayo in the future.
Yeah. And if we do some sort of soft rebuild, let's say for some reason Jimmy balls out and he decides he wants to go to another team on his own, or if we trade him midseason next season before the trade deadline, if we go through that soft rebuild, we're gonna have to basically have these growing pains because we're probably going to be a 9 or 10 seed if it's just literally Terry, Tyler, and Bam with the kids and Kalel, and that's not a horrible thing because we can get a lottery pick. Like it won't be a top five pick, but you never know. There's always that random chance of the ping pong ball falling our way, same as the Atlanta Hawks, who are a playing team and got the first pick. But we can get like a 10th pick or a 12th pick, right? Versus the 15th, the 18th, the 22nd.
Now,
Those are
I'm
like
not
our
saying
three
we tank.
picks.
I'm still
I'm not
hopeful
saying
for
it
the
either. We're
season.
not going to tank, but I'm saying if we get rid of
Yeah,
Jimmy and do a soft rebuild and go
I'm
young,
still
we're
hopeful for the season. I see a lot of people on Twitter, especially saying, "Oh, well, we have four 20-point scorers," and I see a lot of people saying, "If we were healthy after this year, because you heard Terry, we're gonna run it back, so we don't have to question that anymore." Because Terry said it. Unless
yeah,
we make a marginal move, which I don't see it possible right now. I don't
it's
want to
not.
hear any more excuses after this year if it doesn't work. If we
Yeah,
don't at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't want to hear that we're gonna have to run it back for the seventh, eighth, ninth time. No, we need a shakeup. Either trade Jimmy, keep Jimmy, but this team needs to pick a direction ASAP.
yeah, and I'm not saying tank. That's what I'm saying. It's like a soft. It would be a soft rebuild for like a season or so, and that can help us get a draft pick if we got rid of Jimmy. Not saying I want to necessarily because I do love Jimmy Butler, but that could be the reset to your point. Like we need to be bad, as in not even make the play in, right? Perhaps, and that's how you get better. To your point, is getting draft capital, and then also clearing up space um, and getting rid of contracts so that we have that flexibility to your point. But yeah, makes sense.
Well, make sure you guys like, share, comment, subscribe. get Amir to 2,000 subscribers, and I'm pushing to 5,000 subscribers. And thank you for all the support.